So okay guys, so the question Sai had is he installed SCCM client on his in his lab. So on the test machine, he can see that there is configuration manager client agent is there. Okay, and when he goes to his console, he can see he still says that the where's that? Can I escape? Just a minute. Yeah, when he goes to the console, he says that the client agent is not installed. Okay, so his question is why is the I can see the client agent on the machine, end user machine. However, from the console, it is still showing as client agent no. Okay, so the thing that I was asking him to go to the client machine and first check the configuration manager and actions. So the point is he is able to see only two actions here. He is not able to see all the actions. Okay. So typically what will happen is once the client agent is installed, okay, immediately after the client agent is installed, the machine, first of all, it goes to the provisioning mode. Okay, provisioning mode means all the different cycles what it has to run. Say suppose the moment a client agent is installed, if there are some 5 to 6 actions what it has to run. Okay, so SCCM will keep all those actions on hold until unless the installation is properly completed and everything is done. It will keep all the actions under on hold, right? So for some reason, if the installation is corrupted, installation is not done properly, okay, or sometimes it happens during the operating system deployments also. Once the operating system deployment is completed and the client is installed as part of operating system deployment, it will keep it on hold because it has to still continue with other parts of operating system, right? So I was asking him to go to this location in the registry. You have to go to HKLM, software, Microsoft CCM. Under that you have CCM EXEC, right? When you go to that CCM EXEC, you find these values here. So here, just check if your provisioning mode is true. If by any chance if it is true, change it to false. And under system task excludes, it will put all the cycles under exclude. So just remove and make it blank. So that now SCCM client will understand, okay, I'm no more in provisioning mode and I should not exclude any of these cycles. I have to start communicating with server and start running these cycles. That's when you will be seeing all the other cycles. Okay, this is one possibility. I'm not saying this is the only possibility. This is one possibility. You can check the registry and that's one way of troubleshooting. The other thing is Sai, especially in your case, under the sites, I guess you don't have any site code there, right, Sai?
Manohar, I've checked it actually.
Just now?
So when yeah, just now I've checked it.
Hmm.
So in the site code, I can see my site assigned. Currently assigned to the site code, I've seen it. It's HYD.
Hmm.
And coming to the registry, I could see the provisioning mode is false.
Okay, cool, cool.
And the system
Excludes will be blank.
task excludes it's blank. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So if this is false, obviously this will be blank. If this is true, there will be some cycles which needs to be excluded, right?
Okay.
So what you can do is tell me one thing. In your case, are you still running the same thing wherein initially you had a SIM server installed and then you have formatted the server? Is that the same?
Yeah,
So
yeah, Manohar. I've changed the server actually, and also the client system. Sorry, Manohar. I guess I can now see the actions. Sorry, actions. Oh, okay. Only two I can see. Sorry.
you're still able to see two? Only just two?
Yes, still. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Click on the configuration.
No,
Who is this? Anil?
no, I mean like we can check with the cache settings. I have faced the same issue.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes it's not enabling the cache.
You mean to say here under the cache?
Yes. Yeah.
Uh, what I would
Go to the
suggest is
settings.
what I would suggest is before going to the cache, I would suggest him to go to the site
Site code. Okay.
and click on find site. So
Okay.
what this will do is this will communicate with the site server, right? And it will see if it's proper based on the boundary and all, easy into the proper site or not. See, it says configure has successfully found a site to manage this client. The client is already assigned to that, was found, right? So I would suggest him to click on that and make sure after some time, maybe after 5-10 minutes, if it is getting updated on the SCM console. Right, Sai?
Yes, Manor, I've clicked it actually, but it says the client manager could not find a small error. It could not find the site code.
Yeah, that's the issue in your case. That is the reason it is not able to get it. So I guess maybe have you configured the boundaries and boundary groups properly?
Yes,
I,
boundaries. Okay, boundaries. I've given only one boundary
okay.
for that.
And have you given a boundary group?
No, actually.
Yeah, that's where the whole issue is. Because if you just give a boundary, right? If you just give a boundary can never be assigned to a site system, right? If you go to the properties, a boundary can never be assigned to a site system. This site system, what it has got here is not because of boundary. It is getting this May SCM site system because I have a boundary group, and only on a boundary group I have an option to assign to site system. If you see, assign to site and assign to a site system. If you don't do this part, how would a client know to which site it has to communicate with?
Uh, yeah, Manor, but for the boundary, this thing,
Mhm.
boundary group, we have just given the IP address, right? Only the IP address mentioned to which range. That's it, right?
Yeah, that is fine. See, boundary can be IP address range or IP subnet or site, anything. So if you have created a boundary, right? Right, Sai?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes, yes, absolutely.
You have created a boundary, and now have you created a boundary group for that boundary?
No, I guess I need to just check.
So you have to create a boundary group and make this single boundary what you have created as a member of that boundary group. Okay, and then assign a site to that boundary group and assign a server to that boundary group. Now what will happen?
Okay,
Any computer which is part of that boundary, okay, it will have a site assigned to it and it will have a site server assigned to it. Because of these two are assigned, when you go to the client machine, here, the moment you click find site, it will say, yes, I'm able to connect because I'm already assigned to, I have a boundary and as per my boundary, this is the site I have to talk to. Once it starts talking, you'll be able to find all the actions, all the cycles here. So I was assuming that already you have created boundaries and boundary groups. That's the reason I went to the provisioning mode. Okay, as a second phase.
okay,
But okay, so this is also one way of troubleshooting it. Right, Sai?
okay. Yeah, Manoj.
Okay then.
And
Mhm.
can you please go to collections? Uh, can you start a small collection to create actually?
Mhm. Yep,
Uh, just a minute. So transfer the resources. Okay. The next tab, please.
that's it. It's a summary page.
Let me.
Or do you have a question on the creating a membership rule?
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, it's a membership. This thing.
Okay, which one?
Like query rule.
Okay,
Here,
edit
edit the
query.
query
Mhm.
statements. Yes. Mm, Actually, system resource and system stream.
Now what's the
So,
query? What's the doubt?
when I was creating a membership rule wizard, I was on a membership creating a direct membership rule wizard,
Okay,
and we have come to the
So direct rule.
to the yes, direct rule
Hmm.
on the next screen. I get after the type string, I can see two options there.
You mean to say
The upper one, the check mark. Yes, yes.
yes?
So may I just know what is that for?
Okay, okay. So what we are doing is, see here, I'm trying to add a machine to a collection, right? So what basically I'm saying, if say suppose I select here as test 01, okay? If I say exclude resource marked as obsolete, so if the device is already obsolete, there is no point of creating that, adding that machine as part of the collection. Obsolete device, anyways, it is not communicating with the server. So why do you, even though you put it in a collection, you cannot distribute anything to that, right? So while doing a search, I'm saying exclude if there are any obsolete devices, and similarly exclude resources that do not have configuration client if there is no client installed itself. Okay, so even in that case, exclude them, because even if I'm adding those machines to the collection, I cannot do any software distribution on top of it, right? So in that case, what will happen is when I say next, so it will show me. Wait a minute. The machine name here we have is test one, right? Percentage test 1%. Hey, what's the machine name, guys? I'll remove the one as well. Okay, test 01, right? So now it is showing May test 01, right? For example, if I go back here, I'll put percentage May percentage or May percentage. It is showing me only May test 01. But if I select, if I uncheck these two, it should show me other servers as well. May DC, May SCCM. Because currently May DC and May SCCM, if you see, these two do not have client agent installed, right? So even if you're putting them a machine which does not have client agent installed, if you are putting them in a collection and you are trying to use it for software distribution, you cannot, right? So that's what these two checkboxes mean. Make sense?
Yeah, Manoj.
You're just trimming down your search results. Here we just have 3-4 machines, so you might not find the benefit out of it. But when in real time, when you have 10,000 machines, unnecessarily putting obsolete or machines which do not have client installed will save some time for you, right?
Okay.
Any other questions, guys, before we proceed with today's session? Okay, cool. So let me cancel this stuff. Just give me 1 minute, guys. So meanwhile, can one of you summarize the last session?
Hello. Yeah,
Yeah.
here on our last session, we have gone through the application and programming packaging.
Mm-hmm.
In the application, we have seen how to deploy an application with an application requirements
Mm-hmm.
using supersedent
Mm-hmm.
to uninstall the existing software and installing the required upgrade version.
Mm-hmm.
And also we have gone through the detection mode
Yep.
uh, where we can manually check whether an application is installed, and also what do you say, um, check whether the application is installed in 100 the systems, and
Mm-hmm.
also confirming back whether it's installed or not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
uh, there we have taken some example stating that installing Team Center for some of the fixed 500 machines. In the detection mode, we have checked the shortcuts and also the exe and all three folders existing. And we have gone through dependency mode where we have taken some examples like .NET, ODBC, VC++, Silverlight,
Mm-hmm.
and all. That's it, one, or I'm not sure I'm correct or wrong.
Great, great. Thank you for summarizing almost, I think, almost all that we have discussed. You have touched upon. So you touched upon the dependencies, the detection method, supersedence, requirements. I think that's majorly what we have discussed on the other day, on the last day. Thanks for summarizing, Sai. So guys, so basically we have discussed on the what are the new enhancements or new improvements in the application when compared with packages and programs, right? So as part of that, we have touched upon these four things: requirements, supersedence, and detection method, and dependencies, right? I have also showed you after theoretically discussing, I have also showed you where exactly you'll be able to add detection method or add requirements and all that stuff. So today I've promised you to take you through the application thing once again, right from the start till the end, so that you are confident in creating an application, just like how you created package and programs. We wanted to create an application from end to end, then distribute it and deploy it to a client machine and check the log files, just like the other day we checked CTM log, DTS log, and we checked exec manager log file. So similarly, even for this, you have app enforce logs. So we wanted to see how this application will get installed, right? And if time permits, we also want to look about what are the different distribution points, like what is a pre-stage distribution point, what is a pull DP, and what is a cloud DP, right? And if till time permits, we wanted to look into app catalog. What is an application catalog? Okay, that will finish the software distribution. So I'll see if we can cover all of this today. If not, some part of software distribution, I'll keep it for tomorrow. So let's start. So enough of talking on the notepad for at least for applications. Let's start creating that application end to end and learn it from the console itself. Software library, application management, applications. I think we created a folder, miscellaneous apps, and yep. So this is where we have Adobe Reader and Google Chrome. Let me delete this so that I can show you step by step how to create them. Delete Chrome. So just like we have packages and programs, right? So what do you have in package? In package you will have the actual content, and in program you will have the command line, right? That's what we discussed. So in package you will tell where Adobe Reader source files are there. In program you will tell how to install Adobe Reader silent installation commands or whatever the .exe or .msi, whatever it is, the silent installation commands. That's what you will have in the program. Say suppose you want to install that application on few machines and uninstall that application on few other machines. So what you will do, you'll create one package, but you'll have multiple programs, one to install it, one to uninstall it, right? Similarly, here also in Sccm application mode. So application, what you'll do, you can create multiple deployment types. Okay, so you still have the program concept, the command line concept, but here we call it as deployment type in application, because say suppose you want to install on Windows 7 32-bit, okay, then you'll create one deployment type saying that, okay, if the requirement is it is a Windows 7 machine 32-bit, then install this exe under the same application, this exe. But if it is a 64-bit, then install this exe. No need to create two applications for 32-bit and 64-bit. The same application will have the content for both 32-bit version of that application, 64-bit version of that application. But in the deployment type, we'll select the requirements as if it is 32-bit machine, install the 32-bit exe. If it is 64-bit server machine, install 64-bit. So that way you can have multiple deployment types in a single application. So let's see how to create an application. Create application, right? I told you there are two options. One is either you go with the standard MSI or apps or AppV, wherein the moment you select that, because they are in a standard format, they are packaged in a standard format, they are universally accepted formats, right? Because of that, what will happen? All the information that it has will be automatically populated. You don't need to again give the name of the application, the version of the application, or the installation parameter like MSI/quiet and all that. You don't need to give, because wherever you want to install MSI with a silent parameter, everybody knows universally it is you have .msi/q, that means quiet or silent installation. That's a standard format. So that's the reason the moment you select anything like MSI or AppV and all these things, they are universally accepted, so automatically it will give you the information like the manufacturer, version, name, and installation, and also uninstallation command line as well. Okay. Hi. Hello. Guys, can you hear me? Guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Manohar.
Okay. There was a
Yes.
network drop. Okay. So it will happen once again, as I told you initially. So once my power comes back again, there will be a small interruption. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Definitely.
Okay. So let me continue. So basically I was telling you, because these are the standard formats, all the information will be automatically populated. Whereas if you have something like a batch file or a script or exes, they are not on a standard format, right? So in that case, you will select the second option, right guys? So here, let me browse and select, I think for, at least for Google Chrome, we have a standard MSI. So let me select the MSI. So next. Anil, I see you raising a hand. Any doubt?
No, Manu, like I want to communicate you that we are not able to hear your voice.
Okay, okay. Got it. Right? So it says application information successfully imported from the MSI. So from the MSI file, it has imported the information, right? As I was telling you, automatically it populates. So it got the name of it. It says Google Chrome. It got the installation program command line .msi/q, right? So what are the other things you can give here? Like all these are not mandatory, optional. This is just for your better user experience. Users will know what version it is the application is installing, and also for the SCM administrator, they will know if they have multiple versions of Google Chrome, they will know which application to be distributed to the end user machines, right? And similarly, you can put them under categories. I'll explain little later. So basically categories are like, for example, if you have um, like Mozilla Firefox, Google Chrome, or any other browsers, you can create a category saying browsers, okay, and you can put them under that category. Okay. And similarly, tomorrow if you have a Adobe Reader, you can create a category called PDF viewers, so that if you have multiple PDF viewers, you can put all of them in a category. So why is these categories and how these categories will help you? So what will happen is in later classes when we get into application catalog, right? So end users will have a catalog, and they can, it is kind of a website wherein when they click on that website, the client machine will take you to the catalog of all the applications. So instead of checking for Google Chrome and Adobe Reader, they can directly go to a category. If they know that it is a PDF viewer, or if they know it is a browser, they can directly click on that browser, so that they can see only those 3 or 4 browsers, and it will be much easier for them to identify the Google Chrome application and install it. So you'll understand it little later, but it is good to categorize an application, right? So again, this option definitely it's not there in the packages stuff. So install behavior, install for system, and again this one, run installation program as 32-bit process on 64-bit client. So if it is a 64-bit machine, and if it is a 32-bit MSI, so you would select this option. That means on a 32-bit machine, anyways, it'll get succeeded. On a 64-bit machine, you're telling, okay, install this as a 32-bit program, and so that it will go under program files x86 and it gets installed, right? So here we don't need to select anything. 64-bit MSI, anyways, it will run as a 64-bit processor and a 64-bit client, right? So going next. So creating an application, the steps involved in creating an application are very minimal when you're going with a standard format like MSI or AppV, right? But when you're going through something like a .exe, then there will be additional steps. So we'll see that as well. But the more configuration will be involved in when you go to right-click and right-click the application, go to the properties. Right, that's where you'll find all the other options like what we discussed: requirements, supersedence, detection method, and all that. So even detection method will come here, but what happened is, since it is a standard application, detection method was automatically taken. As you can see, it says success detection method. It has already taken the product code itself as a detection method. So why is detection method required? We just Sai just told us, like, we need it to identify whether the application is installed or not. That is even before installing, to check whether an application is already there or not. And the other one is to confirm back after once the installation is done, is the installation completed successfully. So for both, with respect to MSI, all it requires is just the product code, right? It will check if this product code was already there, and then if it was not there, it will install MSI, and after installation again it will check if the product code is there or not. So MSI, it is a standard format, so you don't need to give a separate detection method. It is automatically picked that. Now let's see what will happen when you try to create application with something which is not an MSI or any standard format. I'll say manually specify the application. Say next. So now I'm supposed to give the details, right? It is not pulling from anywhere. Adobe Reader. So I'll put it in a category. I'll create a new category called PDF viewer. And then I will see these options. The date published, you will again understand once we get into app catalog. So when is this application published and all that information. So let me just, for now, let me just check the default one. And even this part you will understand when we go to operating system deployments. Okay, so little later when we go to OSD, definitely I have to come back here and talk about this. So I'm parking it for now. And then you have administrator use who are responsible for this application. So what will happen is, for every application there will be an application owner. Okay, you can assign somebody as an application owner, and you can assign somebody as a support contact for that application. This will help us in installing applications through app catalog when we discuss further and go to application catalog. So application catalog is nothing but a self-service portal. So basically, if you wanted to download an application from Play Store, or if you download an application from App Store, right? So what you are doing is you yourself are going to a store and you're browsing, searching for a particular application, right? And you're installing yourself. Nobody is pushing that application onto your iPhone or your Android device. You yourself is going to a portal and downloading it. That's what is called as a self-service, right? So this self-service portal, even in SCCM, you can create a self-service portal wherein all the applications will be published on a server, okay, on a website portal, and anybody can log on to that portal and they can see all the applications published there. They can browse and select which application they want and they can install. Now, say suppose if the application is a licensed application, okay, you don't want to just keep a licensed application published and anybody can download it, right? So in that case, what you'll say is they have to take an approval from the application owner. So there is a workflow for that. You will see when you checkbox that, automatically, even though the user is trying to install that application, it says that your request for downloading this application has been sent to the application owner for approval. So once the application owner approves it, only then he can download and use that application. So in order to make sure that a proper request goes to the administrator, to the application owner, and then the application owner approves it, right? So for that you have to identify an application owner, right? So this is where you do that. You'll select who is the application owner and who is the support contact, so that the request will go to this particular person. If you browse someone, yeah, so that's where the request will go to, right? You'll slowly understand.
Uh,
Yeah, Anil.
Manohar,
Manju, yeah.
Manju, yeah, at this point, I have a query similar way. I mean, I saw some of the settings, like some of the scenarios in a company that the people will be use this maybe such kind of facility, and when how Play Store is available, right? Where we go and then we will download a thing from a mobile. So like that only, when you log into your with individual login, and then you use Play Store, means the company required application will be available. So like that, I saw some of the scenario how they have made it. Is it if it is the same way
So
within this, or
so are you talking about the company's apps on the mobile devices?
yes, that is to personalized way, so that
Yeah,
it
yeah,
will not be available publicly.
yeah. So my question here is again, so you're talking about on mobile devices or on laptops and desktops?
Mobile device.
Yes. So for mobile devices, what we do is something different. So what we do on mobile devices is you have Intune and then you have company portal. Okay, that is a different concept called company portal. Okay, wherein you'll have a all the apps that you wanted to send, like if you have your company specific apps, right? So those can be made available on the company portal. The app name itself is called company portal. Okay, it comes from Intune. That's different. What I'm talking here is for laptops and desktops, not on the mobile devices. So if you go to the client machine here, okay, this is my client machine, right? And if you go to the software center, hey Amar, I've seen that you have raised your hand, so I'll answer once this is done. So when you go to Software Center, do you see here find additional application from the application catalog? So this is what I'm talking about. So by default, you'll have the application that you have pushed to him. He can see it in the Software Center, which is specifically targeted to a client machine. He can see under Software Center. But if he wants any additional application, what he'll do is he'll click here to the application. Currently it is grayed down because we have not configured application catalog from the SCM server. Once we do that, and if he clicks this application catalog here, so what will happen, it will take him to a different website portal and all the applications will be there in the portal. So this is what I'm talking from a desktop or laptops. But when you're talking about something like a from the mobile device, it has to be managed from Intune, and you should need to install something called company portal app. That's where you will have all these different apps. Make sense, Manju?
Yeah, okay. Because you're saying in middle mobile device, so I thought it is again related here, that one. So I just
Yeah, yeah.
came in mind. That's why I asked.
Yep. So sorry to confuse you. So so what I was thinking was like, I just wanted to give a correlation between how you will be using your mobile devices and how you go to a self-service store, right? Similarly, I wanted to give an example. But yes, that mobile concept is entirely different. That's from the Intune. Yeah, Amar, go ahead, sir.
Manoj, just wanted to check. So now we are trying to do an application. We are trying to build that. Is there a possibility similar way for VBA scripts which will go as an application? Because in package we do that, but I'm not sure how it could be done in application mode.
Yeah, sure. So the one that I'm showing you here, go ahead. You have one more question?
No, no. So is that a possibility that VBA scripts can also
Yes,
be?
yes. We can do that, Amar.
Okay, right.
Okay. So I just want to see the first option you have seen, which is MSI. The second option I've selected as manually specify. So when you click on manually specify, that's when you can give this VBA script as well. So we are currently looking into that manually specify thing, right? So I'll show you the moment you go to the next screen, you'll understand how and where you can exactly give your VBS as well. So currently I've selected EXE. It's not just for EXE. The manual specify is for VBS. It is for your CMDs, batch files, for everything. Anything which is script based or anything which is not in a standard format, for everything you have this manually specify, right? So here, that's what I'm talking about. The manually specify part is for anything which is not a standard format. VBase is not a standard format of installing applications, right? So for all of them, you have to go for manually. Okay, so let's proceed further. So this part is for application catalog. So how you wanted this application to be in the application catalog. So for now, I'll park this aside because we have not installed the application catalog piece. I don't want to confuse you. We'll come back and we'll look into this. Okay, this is the deployment type. So I was talking about you can create multiple deployment types. So one for 32-bit installation, one for 64-bit installation, right? Or maybe based on the server you wanted to do a different kind of configuration. Maybe for a client machine you want to do a different configuration. So whatever your requirement is. So similarly you can create multiple deployment types here. So let's create one deployment type to install and uninstall the application. So I'll say add. So here it is asking, is it an MSI file? We are saying no, it's not an MSI file. It is if it is a script installer, right? Because exe is also a script installer, and Amar, to answer your question, even a VBS is also a script installer. So here I'll select script installer, right? Now it is asking manually specify the deployment type information because I've selected script installer. If I would have selected MSI, right? So you have automatically populate option. You just give the MSI, it will automatically populate the command lines. What is the install command, uninstall command, and also the detection method. Everything will be automatically populated. You're saying no, it's not. It is a script installer. So I'm manually specifying. This time I'm doing a manually specify on the deployment type. Remember, earlier I've selected manually specify on the application creation. Okay, this is a different window. If you put this aside, you'll still see the other window there. This is the application wizard, and this is a deployment type wizard. Right, guys? So when I say next, now it is asking me to give the deployment type name. So the deployment type name here is Adobe. Sorry, this is for Adobe Reader. Yeah, this is for Adobe Reader. Adobe Reader 64-bit is my deployment type. Next, so it is asking for the content location. Source. Okay. Adobe Reader is my location. So here I'm giving the installation program, which is the command line, just like what we gave in the package send program, right? So here the command line would be, so browse and select this. What was the command line that we are given there? I think /s all, right? For silent installation. Let's give the same thing. Okay, wait a minute, it's populating. I've already clicked once, so let me go here. /s all. I believe this is what we discussed the other day as the silent installation. We checked, right? Okay. So you give the installation command line, and if you also know the uninstallation command line, you'll give the uninstallation command line here, right? Now, what are the other options that you have here? One is the this one, install and uninstall program as 32-bit. This we have already discussed. Based on whether if it is 32-bit or 64-bit, you'll select this option. Then what are the other things you have? persist content in the client cache. So what is client cache? The CCM cache folder, right? And what is the size of the CCM cache by default? It is 5 GB, right guys? So now what we are selecting here is, if you, and I also told you in the 5 GB, say suppose tomorrow another application comes and it finds that there is no 5 GB place space there, first in first out, right? The first in first downloaded application will be first removed and the latest application will be downloaded because it needs that it needs some space, and the maximum size space for the CCM cache is 5 GB by default, right? So what you can also do is, sometimes you don't want your application to be removed from that CCM cache because of this FIFO. You want this application to always be on your CCM cache. Okay, say suppose. Then you select persist content in the client cache, right? So this way what will happen, even if a new application comes, it will delete other applications to get the space. It will remove other applications source files to get some space, but it will never remove the Adobe Reader from the CCM cache because you have selected persist content in the client cache. So that is again a specific requirement, if a particular application source needs to be there on your machine, every single day it gets self-healed or it gets repaired, and it requires the source bindings always, or maybe if it is a very big package like it is 1 GB package and you cannot afford to download it again, so you think it's better to leave it on the end user machine, so that whenever if the application gets failed or it requires a repair, immediately we can do the repair from the local machine itself, right? In such cases where you think that the application's binding should always be on the client machine, you'll select persist content in the client cache. Guys, are you clear with this checkbox, or do you have any questions?
Manohar, I've got one.
Go ahead.
So basically any
Hello. Sorry, buddies, I cannot hear you. Hey, Amma, can you hear me now?
Yeah, Manohar, I can hear
Yes,
you.
Manu.
Sorry, my power is back now. So, sorry, as I told, that was the interruption. Please go ahead with your question.
So my question is, when we install the application or when the application sits on CCM cache, how does it get flushed or cleared from that particular folder? Is it by default it gets cleaned up, or there is a specific option for it?
Yeah, that's what we discussed, right? So what happens is on the client machine, the maximum size available is by default is 5 GB, right? So
V4 it will use. Okay.
yes, it goes
First
and
in,
use the
first
FIFO.
out.
Yeah, first in, first out.
Otherwise, by default, once it's installed,
Mhm.
isn't that we can clean it up?
You can delete it.
Is there a specific option,
No, you can manually
or
go
we
and,
have to manually?
yes, you can manually go and delete it, or you can go to configuration manager, client, and then you go here to your cache, and you can say delete files.
But
You can,
it's nothing from the server side we can do. for all the client machine?
No, for all the client machines, no, you can't do it. And there's no requirement to do it from the server, right? Because whenever a package is trying to install, any application is trying to install, okay, it itself has a process to automatically delete the earlier application content and install itself, right? So when the feature
Yeah.
is already there, so why do you want to delete it from the server?
No, it's only say about out of the 10 applications which has consumed the size of 5 GB, I want 5 applications to always be there and the rest to be removed. Out of the 10 applications which has consumed 5 GB, I want 5 applications to be there, like your example, wherever any point of time, since these are big sized applications, I can reuse it at a later date.
Got it.
For that reason, I'm trying to keep it.
Yes, I got it. So, in SCCM, whenever you have a feature, it comes with a best practice as well. So when you go to the best practice document, or when you go to Microsoft guys and ask them for the recommendation, what they would say is, though you have that persist option, it is not, unless and until you don't need that application, unless until it is not really required, you don't select that option. And even if you do it, it should be time bound, like you are doing some kind of a migration right now. So because of that, you wanted to ensure that that particular binary is still there. So it is a migration project which is going on. So during the time period of that migration project, enable that checkbox, and now once your migration is done, disable that checkbox. That's what typically what Microsoft would recommend. So it's not like forever you select an AutoCAD application as persistent, because it will be consuming like 1 GB or 2 GB of space on the client machine, right? That's a footprint.
Right.
So for having a zero footprint, so again the recommendation is that, but there is no option as such from the console to for you to delete on all the machines. But yes, there are PowerShell commandlets. You can write a PowerShell script to delete it and push it as an application, right?
Right.
You can always do that. Did I answer your question?
Yes, Manohar. Thanks.
Okay. Anil, I see you raised your hand.
Yeah, if itself like it's more than 5 GB, then what will happen?
If itself is more than 5 GB, it will fail. It will fail, and you have to increase the CCM cache. So I've told you you have a option to increase the CCM cache from SCCM itself, right? No need to see here also from a client machine you can increase it. As you can see it, you can increase it from the client machine. No need to come here from the SCCM server. When you're trying to do, you have this CCM setup.exe comes with a parameter SMS cache size, right? So there also you can put the SMS cache size and give the size. So that shouldn't be a problem. You followed the initial class, right, where you have that parameter, Anil?
Not sure.
Okay, so
Manohar,
yeah, Manju.
uh, sorry, I just lost the person.
Okay, no problem. So Anil, so what will happen is currently I don't want to close this particular window, but I'll show you a little later. So what will happen during the client installation properties? So it is one of the client installation property wherein you can have a parameter called SMS cache size, right? So there you can define it as either 5120 or 10240. Accordingly, the cache size will increase. So since already client agent is installed, what you can do is you can again push a client agent on that machine, right click and say install client, and while giving the properties, there give the cache size is equal to a bigger cache size. You can do that, right? Or you can also do it from the client settings. So there are multiple options, not just one. There are multiple options to do it from the console. So cache size increase in cache size shouldn't be a problem. But yes, if the application size is more than 5 GB and you have selected persist, so definitely it will fail there. You can see the log why it failed, and then you have to take appropriate action to increase the size.
Yeah, Manohar, I got that question. Actually, if we increase the size, let's say like for a client machine, if we just increase the size from maybe from SCM or from the individually, that size will get occupy RAM place or
Hard disk.
I mean, that memory. Yeah, so
Hard
it
disk.
will occupy a hard disk.
Yeah, because see, we are copying under C Windows CCM cache. It is on C Windows CCM cache is the folder, right? So that's on your hard disk.
Okay.
Okay, fine. So let's proceed further. And this checkbox we have discussed multiple times. Allow clients to share content with other clients on the same subnet, right? I told about the branch cache and how contents can be copied. I've given the BitTorrent and peer-to-peer example, right? So this was already covered. So yep, now we are at the detection method. So since this is a exe, so it did not populate an automatic detection method like product code or anything as such. So you need to give, and if you remember the other day we gave Adobe Reader file and other details, right? So right now on the client machine I don't have Adobe Reader. So I think it's Matus01. Yeah, I have already uninstalled Adobe Reader on the client machine, so I don't think um, I can take anything from there. But guys, I think by now you're aware of this detection method. So I can just for timing I can select any dummy entry. So let me take a dummy entry of a registry, which I'm sure that the registry is already there. HKLM. Say suppose I wanted the OS build info which we created, right? Okay, so remote registry is not enabled on that machine, and I don't have that either here. Let me select any dummy registry for that matter. In that case, .NET Framework enable 64-bit is one. So if this particular value is there, .NET Framework enable 64-bit, if that is equals to 1, right? In that case, I'm just giving it as a detection method. So what does that mean? So before installing the application, it will check if this .NET Framework thing is there on that machine or not. If it is there, it considers that the application is already installed and it will not install Adobe Reader. If it is not there, after installing again it will check whether this entry is there, right? If it is there, then it considers the application successful, otherwise it will show as application failure. So let's see what will happen. Okay, so what you can also do is in the detection method, as a selected file registry, right, folders and all that. Apart from that, what you can also do is, if you know there are set of things which it has to check, it's not just one shortcut or file or registry, there are multiple things that it has to check. Only then the application is considered to be successful. Then you can click here and give a custom script of your own. So you can write a VBS. In that VB script or PowerShell, you will put, okay, the requirement 1, requirement 2, requirement 3. So if all these 5-6 things are done successfully, it checks all of them. Only then I consider that this application is installed successfully, right? So then you can give a script. You can also do that way, right? So in this case, we went with a registry detection method. Installation behavior. So you wanted to install it for a user, or you want to install it for computers, right? So typically we are going with install for a system, and we have already discussed this part, like whether or not user, when you'll go with each of these options, because these are same even for package and program, right? We even discussed about normal, hidden and maximize modes. The maximum runout we've discussed, installation time we have discussed. So what will happen when you put the maximum and the installation time, this will be displayed to the end user on the software center. He or she will know how much time this application will take and how much space it requires. That is one for the user's understanding. Similarly, based on the the space. Okay, here we don't have that space, right? Okay, this is the maximum allowed runtime. Sorry, the maximum allowed runtime I have already discussed. Like say suppose for some reason if the application has failed, okay, but it is still the exe is running in the background, it is waiting for the user's input, or it has to show something to the end user. So the exe is still running in the task manager. You're not able to kill the process, right? So what will happen by default after 2 hours, that is 120 minutes, the process will be automatically killed and the application will be considered as failure if it is taking more time, more than 2 hours, right? If you think your application legitimately takes like 3 hours to install, something like that, then you can increase this space. But by default, most of the application will get finished maximum in 5-10 minutes, right? specify installation requirements. So here I wanted to talk to you about on the other day we took some example like 64 bits, a specific OU and operating system, all that, right? So I don't want to again repeat that part, but apart from device and user, you have something called custom, right? So what will happen in a requirement? So if I click custom, okay, and I say create, it is talking about create global condition. So what is a requirement and what is a global condition, right? So what will happen is if I go back, if I select device, okay, it is still a requirement. If I select a user, it is still a requirement. But the moment I select custom, create, it's a global condition. What does that mean? See, the device thing and the user thing are default, which are coming by default with SCM. Custom is something you are creating on your own, saying that okay, this particular registry should be there or this particular file version needs to be checked as a requirement, right? So when you're creating anything custom, my SCCM will add that as a global condition, which means tomorrow you no need to create that custom requirement once again. It will be stored as a global condition, and when you are trying to set a similar kind of a requirement for a different application, it will automatically show you there, right? You don't need to again create. For example, your one of your requirement is go and check if the build version is like 1602 is the build version. You wanted to check whether the build version is 1602, whether the image is released on so and so date or not. Okay, if that is your condition, that is a custom condition that you are creating. Now to install Google Chrome, again you don't need to create the same condition again there. You can just scroll down from the drop down box, you can select the condition that you created for this application, right? So that's the reason it is called a global condition. A requirement which is created for one application can be used for by any other application. Guys, you're getting my point? Okay, is it clear? So let me create a global condition here. I'll call this as OS build info. The problem here is, again, I don't have remote registry enabled. So let me go to the client machine and find out the location exactly. Come on. So it's under OS build info. You have installed it, or you have version Q1 2017. Let's do that now. Okay, HK local machine, and let me browse to my computer and just give any one location, software, and let me select any one thing. Okay, so now it shows HK local machine software registered applications. Actually here it is not registered applications, it is OS build info. Okay, OS build info, and then it's not file explorer, it is version. So I'm checking under HK local machine, I'm going to software, under that OS build info, under that version. Am I correct? Am I clear here? So under software I went to OS build info, and then from there version, I want to check version is equal to Q1 2017. So then I'll say okay. Select OS build info, and that value, whatever I selected, the version value should be equal to Q1 2017. Now if I'm creating this requirement, right, so it will check if it is Q1 2017, only then this application will get installed. Okay, if it is something else, this application is not going to install. This is a requirement what I have created, but this, since it is a custom requirement, automatically a global condition is created. What does that mean? When I close this application, I'll go to some other application like Google Chrome, and I'll go to requirements there. There also I'll be able to see this option. I don't need to again create this entire registry what I just did. Okay, so say next. So this is my requirement. Next, if there are any dependencies, right? We discussed in packages and programs you can just give one dependency, whereas in application you can give multiple dependencies. I'd say I don't have any dependencies. Okay, next, close. So now you are back to the application wizard. This is just one deployment type you have created, right? You're back to the application wizard. Say next, next. So like that you can create multiple deployment types. Now, just to show you that global condition part, if you see here under global conditions, the OS build info should be there. So these are the ones which comes with the device by default. And the new one that you have created is here, OS build info, right? It's a custom one. Now what will happen when I try to create a new application or the existing Google Chrome, and if I want to give the requirement here, so where will the requirement be? It will be for a deployment type, right? So edit the deployment type, go to requirements, add. So now again, I don't need to create a custom requirement and select all that OS build info and all that information, right? So what I can do is when you drop down, now OS build info is already here, right? So that's what I was telling you. Custom requirement once created, it will be a global condition and can be used for any other application. Is it clear now, guys? Amar, any questions?
No, Manoj.
Okay. So let me proceed further. So now we have just completed created an application, two applications, right? So what we'll do is we'll go to the properties of the application and see the important ones, and then we'll also distribute it and deploy it. So let me take you to Google Chrome thing. Okay, so application catalog, as I told you, I'll discuss a little later once we have application catalog part. References, this is when you supersede an application, right? So here there's nothing that you can give. Okay, this is just for your readability, like what are the applications that depend on this application, or what are the applications uh, that supersedes this application, or virtual environment that contains this application. So basically, if you have AppV applications, or if you have a superseded application, or if you have dependencies, so this is where you can see before, say suppose before deleting an application, you want to delete Google Chrome. So before deleting that, what you can check is, okay, is this application, is some other application depending on this application? If I delete this, something else will break, right? So if you have such kind of doubt, you can come back to references and check here, is any application depending on this? And based on that you can take a decision whether to delete it or not, right? This is the referencing part. You cannot add or delete add or remove anything here. It is just for your readability. Distribution settings, this is again the standard one, which is whenever you are on a so you use distribution point to determine in order in which packets are sent. And where is that point? Yeah, so whether you wanted to set your application to a high, medium, or low priority, based on that what will happen is, say suppose at a given point of time you have two applications are getting distributed to a DP. So obviously it will check for the priority. By default all applications are medium priority. When you create them, all of them are medium priority, right? So when you're distributing two applications at a time, and if it finds that there is a high priority application, then that application will get first distributed to a DP. Only in that case this particular priority will help you. Okay, but already if a medium priority application is already distributed, okay, it is in progress, and after that you distribute a high priority, that doesn't matter, because that medium priority will not be kept aside and high priority will not be given a chance. That's still medium priority, it is already started, so it will still go, and the medium priority will go a little later. Make sense? Similarly, when a client requests the content for this package and is not available on any preferred distribution points. So in your boundary, say suppose, let's take this example. In your boundary, you have Hyderabad DP, okay? And then there is one more boundary, boundary 2. And in that boundary 2, you have Bangalore DP. So now a client machine which is in Hyderabad, and it needs Chrome, right? But unfortunately, you have not distributed Chrome is not distributed to hide DP. Now the question here is, since Chrome is not distributed to hide DP, should the client machine fail, okay, or should the client machine go to Bangalore DP to download, or the moment a client machine from Hyderabad is requesting, management point should understand that the application is not there on the hide DP and hide DP should download it, right? I think the easiest way is, since a client machine from Hyderabad is requesting the package and you forgot to distribute it to hide DP, actually the application should be downloaded to hide DP and then given to the client machine. That should be the ideal way, right? So for that, you have to select this option, distribute the content for this package to preferred distribution point. That means when a client requests the content for the package and it is not available on any preferred DP, specify whether you want to distribute the content to preferred DP or not. Yes, distribute it. Now, even if it is not on hide DP, automatically it will download the content to hide DP and then give it to the end user machine. Clear? So the below concept is called pre-staged DP. So I will discuss that, as I told you, pre-staged and cloud DP and pull DP. Once I discuss that, you will understand this point. We'll come back to it. So deployment type we have discussed. Content location, it will show all the places where your application is distributed. Okay. And you have an option, currently we are not distributed, right? That's why it is not showing anything. We are not distributed it. You have an option called validate and redistribute. Guys, any guesses? You are distributing an application to a DP, right? And then you have something called validate and redistribute. When do you use validate and redistribute?
When there is a higher version or a new version.
Which one? So you'll use redistribute or validate?
We'll first validate, and then if it is on a low version, then we redistribute it.
Okay, okay. So you mean to say, for example, you have pushed Adobe Reader 10, and then if you have Adobe Reader 11, is that what you're trying to say?
Yes.
No, no. So if you have Adobe Reader 11, then what you will do is you will always create a new application for that, because it's entirely a new binaries. It has new binaries, new command line, right? It's entirely different. So you'll not redistribute the same application, right? So what you will do here is you'll create a new application for Adobe Reader 11 and you'll install that. And if you want to supersede Adobe Reader 10, yes, you can always do that. In 11, you can select that. Okay, I have to supersede 10. Wherever 10 is there, I want to install 11. That's a different story when it comes to higher and lower versions. And say suppose you have Adobe Reader 11 already, okay, and you have distributed to all the DPs. Now, sometimes what will happen, there might be, it is copying to a DP, right? So if there are chances that the content gets corrupted on a DP, right? So how do you ensure that your end user machines are not getting a corrupted version of it and they're getting a right version, right? For example, we'll go back to Hyderabad and Bangalore DP. Now Hyderabad DP also has the content, Bangalore DP also has the Chrome. Both of them have Chrome now because you have distributed to both of them. Now, say suppose on Bangalore DP for some reason it has got corrupted. The files got corrupted on the Bangalore DP, and a client machine in Bangalore is requesting for a package. What SCM will do? The management point will tell, okay, go ahead and download from Bangalore DP because you are in the Bangalore boundary. It will start downloading. So basically what it is downloading a corrupted version of it. It downloads and it tries to install and it fails, right? To avoid that, what you'll do is you can do a validation on the Bangalore DP to check whether it has the right files or not. So when you click validate, it will do a hash file check with the Hyderabad DP or with the management point. It will do that hash file check and it will see whether I have the same files what the other DP has. If it does not have the same files, then it will give you that the validation failed, and you can either redistribute it or else you can select in a way to automatically get redistributed. So there is a way to automatically redistribute, or else you can manually go and redistribute. So in both the cases, what it will happen, it will validate whether the content is corrupted or not with the hash file check, and after that it will start redistributing it. Is it clear, Amar?
Yes, ma'am.
Others, any questions here? Okay. Now supersedence, this we have discussed yesterday, we're done there. And if you go to the deployment type, edit, this we discussed, the persistent content in the client cache, and these checkboxes, the fallback we have discussed in the other class. Programs, yep. Detection method, yes. User experience, yes. Requirements, yes. Yeah, this is something which is interesting. Now return codes. So by default, these are the standard return codes. When an application fails or application succeeds, it will give 0, which means it's a success and no reboot is required. Okay, 1707 is also the same thing. Whereas 3010, it says that application is installed, however you need to reboot it. It just gives an information that you need to reboot. Whereas 1641, it will automatically reboot the machine, right? And 1618 is a fast return. So these are the default standard return codes what SCCM is giving you. Now apart from this, say suppose if your application throws a different kind of an error, right? So how does the end user or how does the SCM administrator will know to troubleshoot an application? For example, guys, give me anyone complex application in your environment, anyone complex application?
AutoCAD.
AutoCAD, perfect. So you wanted to install AutoCAD, okay? And AutoCAD throws different kinds of errors. One which I remember is 256. If you guys worked on AutoCAD, you'd agree with me. There is an error called 256, wherein multiple EXs would be spanning in the background. So that's a different issue. So now, you know, when 256 comes, what does that mean? Okay, so that information will be provided by the application owner, the AutoCAD guy. He will tell you, okay, whenever this AutoCAD thing happens, this is the if this error comes, that means either it is a success but further configuration is required, or it is a failure and it is failed because of this reason. Okay, that information you will take it from the application owner, right? Or else if there is no application owner, you install AutoCAD for 10 machines and tomorrow you'll get to know that these are the kind of errors that will happen in AutoCAD, right? So out of your experience, what you will do, you'll create a new code here. You'll create the 256 thing. Okay, you'll say that it is either a failure or reboot or what is required. Okay, say suppose it is a failure, then you'll explain what it is and you'll give a description here. Now what will happen is, tomorrow if AutoCAD fails on any other machine, the guy who is troubleshooting it, maybe L1, L2 or even L3 guys, whoever is troubleshooting that, they'll clearly know, okay, this exit code means this is the issue and this is the description, this is what he is supposed to do. Now this information will be shown for him in the reports, SCM reports, and also in the SCM logs, right? So you have an option to update a knowledge base. Basically what you are doing, you yourself is creating a knowledge base. So whenever this error comes, these are the steps you need to do. So like that, if you clearly mention everything in the description, so it will be very easy for somebody to troubleshoot, right guys? So whereas in packages and programs, say suppose you're pushing AutoCAD as part of package and program and it throws 256, all it will show is failed the package with exit code 256. That's it. It will not tell you what is 256 meant and what and all you're supposed to do. Clear guys? Any questions here? Okay, I consider that as no questions.
Where we will get those errors registered from where we will find in the report or where?
At both the places, as I said, you can see it in the report as well as the log files. See, we last time we looked for a package and program, we looked for exec manager log file, right? Similarly, here also you have something called app enforce log. For application, you'll see app enforce log. So in that log, you'll find this exit code and also the description. And similarly, you can also see it in the reports. Application installation failure reports will, when you pull those reports by default reports, it'll give all this information there. Clear?
Yeah.
Fine. So I think others we have discussed, written code dependencies. So now we are good to proceed with the actual installation. Let's do that. So
I just when we are there in the deployment types, no, I just a bit confused where he was taking a dummy entry for the part of registry. There, since it was just dummy entry, so I just how it will be in the real scenario. Do we get an option like now for let's take any scenario like now some of the applications are installed and we are not finding the point. So uh, we will be able to take those entries from the registry also if it is installed and we are not able to fetch that information like that. You meant to say?
So yeah, I think the dummy entry I've taken it for Adobe Reader because it's a exe and you don't get a detection method by default, right? So I guess you're talking about this thing here, edit. You're talking about this detection method, the .NET Framework dummy entry
Yeah.
what I've taken. Yeah. So
Yes. How it will be in the real scenario?
it will be the
How
same.
it will.
It will be the same, Manju. So only difference here is since I don't have a registry for Adobe Reader. So if I know what is the registry, exact registry or exact file to check for Adobe Reader, right? So I'll put the exact value. Since I don't have any exact Adobe Reader registry or Adobe Reader file, that's the reason I've selected. In real time, what will happen is you will have at least one machine where you have Adobe Reader, right? If you don't have, you can install Adobe Reader on one test machine, and then you can browse to that test machine. You can connect to that registry value, or you can connect to that file. That's how it happens in the real time. But since it is a lab and I have only one machine and in that machine I don't have Adobe Reader installed, that's the reason I've taken some other dummy registry. But it's the same thing. You will again go to HK local machine software and whatever is the registry. In this case it is Microsoft and .NET Framework. It could be in your case it would be Adobe Reader and that particular file location. Only the location changes but the process remains the same.
Yeah, because with this type, I didn't understood. I didn't able to analyze or assume what may be the result that come out. So that's why.
Okay, tell me one thing. Why is detection method used? Manju?
Hello, hello.
Yeah, Manju. So my question is, why is detection method used?
For to detect whether those entries are available.
No, no. What is the final goal of detection method? What do you want to achieve from detection method? You want to ensure, you want to check whether an application is installed or not. That's the main purpose, right? The whole purpose of it is to check whether an application is installed or not.
Yeah.
And how do you identify whether an application is installed or not? That could be a registry or a file. Forget about SCM world. Just a manual I'm asking. If manually you wanted to check whether application is installed or not, you'll go to add remove programs. If it is not under add remove programs, you'll check under the program files x86 folder, or you'll check for some shortcuts on the desktop, or you'll check some registry value. So these are the places where you go manually.
Yes.
The same places where you go manually, that is what we are trying to configure as part of SCM. So say suppose manually you go and check under HK local machine software and you go to a particular location and see whether it is whether the version is there or not. If the version is there, that means the application is installed. Say suppose that's the criteria where you'll check. So the same criteria I'm trying to add as a detection method here so that it is checking whatever is the manually whatever is valid, the same thing it will check here and see if the application is installed or not. Right. So in this case, I don't know the registry. This is just an example. Adobe Reader is just an example I've taken and I don't know the registry. That's the reason I picked .NET Framework. But if you know the exact registry to check for Adobe Reader, then you can directly select that particular registry itself. Or if you know the exact file version, if you have the file version, you can select, okay, under C program files x86, there should be a folder called Adobe Reader, and under that folder, you need to have acro reader 32.exe, and that its version should be so and so. You can give the exact location. I think if you go back to the previous session's video, you will see that Adobe Reader's registry or not the registry. You'll see the Adobe Reader's file version giving as a detection logic. Please go through the last session, yesterday's session, okay? There you have exact detection method for Adobe Reader. I've given that in the last class.
Yeah, this part is the same thing only. Okay, I got it now. Because I was just thinking like it is something different on part. I mean detection method, but again with a different part.
No, no, it's the same thing. Okay, fine. So let's proceed with distributing and deploying this. So the first thing you do is distribute the content, right? Distribute Adobe Reader. So next, add the distribution point. So this is same as your package and program distribution, right? There also you say distribute content and give the DP. Let me also distribute Google Chrome. Okay. So how do you check whether it is distributed or not? So here, wait a minute. Here you will get that content status, right? So currently it is in gray. So the moment you refresh, you will find it in yellow or green. Green. So it is distributed, right, guys? I guess the same case even with Adobe Reader. It's distributed. Now what is it you're supposed to do? You are supposed to deploy it. Same like package and program. Click deploy and select the collection. This is the collection. And finally, you give the schedule. Scheduling is also again the same thing how you gave for package and program. So install available or install required. So if you select available, it will be there available on your software center. When you select required, so it is by default, it will not ask for the end user. It will not wait for the end user to install it. Automatically it will push, right? So we discussed about wake up packets and all this for the package and program. It remains the same here. Let me go with the default schedule. It should be available immediately and install it as soon as possible. Okay, so all these are default settings. There's nothing.
When we schedule this in the production or something like in the company, if that scheduled time the machines are which machines are not available, then it will be again retry in the next work. I mean, in the same time, the next day something it will try, or it will be coming back as unfailed.
No, it will be keep on trying. So basically what we have selected is should be made available starting from today or starting from now 7:34 a.m. and it should be the deadline to install it is as soon as possible. That means whenever the machine is up, whenever the machine is ready, immediately install it. That's the command that I've given. That's how we are scheduled it. So even if the machine is shut down right now, tomorrow morning when the user comes up, so his machine policy cycle will run and it will know that this application is there and it will start installing. So whenever he comes online. Okay, so it will not say failure. In this case, deployment failure will only happen when the policy is already downloaded, and after that if something happens like it is not able to download the content, or it has downloaded the content but it is not able to install it for some reason, in those cases you will see a failure. But while it is trying to install and the policy itself is not downloaded on the client machine, that means the machine is offline, it will not show it as failure. Okay.
With that, we get any error codes available, like anything, like if the machines are down, which is not, that's why the scheduled or pushed softwares are not getting installed.
That you can see in the report. In the report, it will clearly mention like content downloaded or content not downloaded. Similarly, policy downloaded or not. So there, all these, say suppose you have 100 machines and 10 machines are offline. Okay, for all 90 machines, it will show like the policy has been downloaded. However, it failed or succeeded at the further stages. Whereas for these 10 machines, it will show that policy itself is not downloaded. So you'll clearly know that the machines were off, or their client agent is not working, or for some reason they did not get even the policy. So that you can see in the report.
Okay, if the policy is not downloaded, it means then the machine is down, is it?
Either the machine is down or the SCM client agent is down.
Yeah, because why I was asking, because if there are 100 machines, out of 100 machines, 50 machines are not up and running. If the failure will come back, then how I will be able to categorize that whether this machine is down, because each machine I cannot be able to keep manually pinging to
Yep.
50 machines. That's why.
Yeah, got it. So definitely it will not show it as failure. It will show it as client policy not downloaded, or the application policy is not downloaded. So that you can see in the report. So that way you'll know whether machine is offline, or whether the machine has some other issue. And then once you get that client policy is not downloaded for 10 machines, okay, you always have your another report which will show you all the client machines where the client agent is corrupted, right? So you're gonna always cross check with that, and for that report is different, wherein you can work on those machines where the client agent is corrupted and you can fix those machines. That's a different report. Okay, so where are we? I've deployed Adobe Reader and I've made it mandatory, that is required, right? So on the client machine, now if I go to the client machine, let's go through the log files, what's happening here. So by default, let me make full screen. So by default on this client machine, so currently I don't have Adobe Reader, right? And if let me open the log files, C drive, Windows, CCM, logs, right? And see if you have anything related to app. So you don't have any log file which starts with app, right? You have only asset advisor, because till now we have not pushed any applications to this device. Now let's do one thing. We go here and initiate the machine policy. Otherwise, it will take 60 minutes, right? So run the machine policy. Run now. Say okay. So once the policy installed, so if you search by date modified, you can see policy agent provided. No, even the evaluator will come. Let me refresh this once again. See, already data transfer service DTS has started. That means it started identifying that a application is targeted to it. We discussed on the DTS and other stuff, right? Okay, it says has completed status successful. That means it has already downloaded thing as well. I want to show you the application ID. You remember I told you how to do this. First you'll check with the package ID on the DTS, then you will take the DTS job, go to CTM, right? So the same process here as well. 519, 523. So this is where all this started, right? So it is checking the required applications and application deployment. So this is the application ID, based on the application ID. Okay, so this is the DTS job which is created. When you check with this DTS job on the CTM thing, so that's where you will find the next part. But since, okay, we have already gone through the DTS, CTM and all that in the package and program, I want to take you to the logs which are specific to application. So if you go to the, let me refresh it once again. Right. So if you go to the app discovery, so it says performing a detection of application deployment type Adobe Reader. Okay, and it discovered the application. So do you see the application is here? Guys, do you see the application here, Adobe Reader?
No.
Then why is it saying the application is discovered and it finds that the application is installed?
Since it's a dummy available in the registry.
Perfect. So that's what it did. So it went here, regedit, and it checked
So
the
only the so only the dummy entry is got copied. I mean, it got deployed, right?
dummy entry
No
is not,
software.
no, dummy entry is not something which we are deploying. Dummy entry is something what we are checking. It should be already there on the client machine. We are checking if that value is there. Based on that, we are considering that the application is installed or failed, right?
Uh, that's what like I meant to say that value, a duplicate value,
Mhm.
which is a software, which
So
doesn't have a software,
as you
would
can see
just
here, yeah. So as you can see here, you have enable 64-bit, right? So it check this enable 64-bit as 1. So it is already 1. So because it is 1, this particular thing has understood, the application discovery understood that the application is already there, detected app deployment, and it is coming out, right? That's the reason.
Now I got cleared with that part, which
Okay.
where you was taking the registry entry. This was I was expecting what it will happen.
Yep. I'll show you what we can do here. For example, I make it 0. Okay, and say okay. And now if I again run the application cycle, where is it? Go to configuration manager. Or else I can also run from the software center, because I believe this will be there in the software center as well. Installation status. So Adobe Reader, it says installed. Actually it is not, but it says installed because of the detection method. I think I have not given an option for reinstalling it. So let me do one thing. I go to configuration manager, actions. I'll say application deployment evaluation cycle. Evaluate if the application needs to be installed. Okay. So this time it is started downloading, as you can see. Why? Because if you go back to the same log, it says again I have tried to run the detection type, application not discovered. This time it says application did not detect app deployment. So I'm trying to install it now because of this registry. Guys, is it clear now? Guys, is this part clear? Okay. So
Yes.
because of that registry, now it identified that the application, see, SCM just follows based on what and all you have created as a detection method. So we told that dummies thing is itself is the detection method. Now you'll see the funniest part here. It will install the application and then it will say I have not installed the application. The application failed. Why? Because the detection method failed. Because even after installing the application, it will not automatically change the .NET framework to 1. It will be still remain 0, right? So after installing the application, again it will go back and do the detection to confirm whether the application is really installed or not, right? So then it will find that the dummy entry is 0 and it says, okay, I've tried to install, but sorry, as per the detection method, the application is not installed. That's what the log will tell you in some time.
Manar,
Yeah, Manju?
I'm not getting any scenarios like where I can go and check for the logs. I'm not much getting errors, and so that's why I'm not much able to experience the logs checking, because uh, like for example, if I take it like by this last weekend when I was trying all these things, my due to a 1 or 2 time power failure, the system was bad, so I need to rebuild up. But when I was doing all the SQL related thing,
Mm-hmm.
there I was in that lab administrative part. I was getting in that OS. I was getting an error when I was building a SQL and I was installing. It was appearing remote deployment management something. It was keep on appearing error. It was not proceeding further. So that kind of situation, I don't know which log file need to be checked related to which. So such difficulties. Well,
No, no.
not
So,
much
so,
experience.
so Manju, if I understand you correctly, what you're trying to tell me is like during SCCM installation, you had some issues, you had some errors, and you don't know which log file to look for during the SCCM installation. Is my understanding correct?
Yes, anything like if something is getting failing, which one is related and which one I need to check to understand how it
So,
is
so
going.
if you're going exactly by the kind of sessions that we are taking, right? So in each session, I'm definitely touching up a log file which is required for that particular session. For example, if you remember, in the initial installations, we have talked about configuration manager setup.log file, right? So if you see on the server, that's the log file that I've showed you. That during the installations and all, you have under your C drive itself, you have all these log files. Configuration manager setup, the prerequisites, the setup wizard. So these are the log files which are required
Yes,
for the configuration manager installation, right?
yes, I
Similarly,
have.
yeah, similarly during inventory management and all, we have looked into, during discovery, we have looked into Active Directory system discovery, system group discovery log files. During inventory management, I've talked about the policy agent and policy evaluator log files. And in the yesterday's before session, like packages and programs, I've talked about the CTS, DTS, CTM, DTS, and exec manager. Today we are talking about the different log files. So as and when we are progressing further, I'll be talking about all these log files which are required for that particular session. And at the end of the session, I'll give you one Excel sheet which will have all the columns saying that, okay, if any issues with software update management, these are the log files you need to look for. If there are any issues with client installation, these are the log files. So I'll give you one Excel sheet with all the log files. Will that help?
Oh, yeah, yeah, definitely. Because right now, because day by day it is the updates are getting more, no? So log files, there are so many entries are getting coming. So I'm getting confused which one, where, in which
Yeah,
part, which one.
sure, sure.
The videos are clear, but
Mhm.
when we are seeing the videos, that time we are particularly seeing. So when error comes, means I'm learning the way of solving the problem now.
Mhm. Sure, sure.
That is,
No issues. So what I'll do is at the end of the session, I'll give you one quick reference Excel sheet wherein it will have all the all the different components of SCM, and then on the right side you'll have all the different log files which are responsible for that particular module, which will I think that will help you.
yeah, definitely. Thank
Okay. So let's go back to the thing. So if you see here now it says the application failed, right? It is saying that as we already knew that the application will fail, right? And if you click here, failed, more information. So it says the software returned error code so and so. So it has returned an error code, the application is not installed. But if you go to here, you can see Adobe Reader is installed because it is just telling it as failure only because of the detection method. Right guys? Because of this detection method. If I put this detection method back to 1, okay, and if I run, so here currently it is failed, right? If I run the configuration manager evaluation cycle, the application related evaluation cycle, now it will show it as installed, right? Is this clear? So it all depends on the kind of detection method you give. So be very cautious, be very conscious, and while giving the exact detection method, whether you're giving a shortcut or you're giving add remove program entry or the registry. So check it twice. Because this happens most of the times. I've seen my end users comes to me and say L1 L2 guys, they do the supporting part and they fail somewhere, and finally it comes to me and they'll tell like okay, this application we have installed and almost like 500 machines it is failing. So the first question I'll ask is, have you checked on any one machine and physically are you able to see the application? They'll say yeah, physically we are able to see the application on one machine. We don't know why it is failing. It clearly says that some detection method was is the fault. So physically, if you're seeing the application and SCM is saying it is failed, definitely it is detection method. Don't go and break your head for any other troubleshooting. Directly go to detection method and fix it. Okay. Going back and what we can do is, so now you know the application deployment thing, and I've showed you app discovery, right? So this is what discovering the detection method, and what is the one which is actually running it? Just like exec manager, I told you we have app enforce. So this is the one which is running app enforce. Any failure. See, detection method failure, you're going to app discovery. But actually, if the application itself is failing for some reason, this is where you go. So it says under Sccm cache 2, I found, and I've run this exe, right? I've executed this exe, and finally exit code with 0. Now also, if you see, it says I have exited with exit code 0. Now it tried to find what does exit code 0 mean in the table. You remember the table, return codes table? It says I match the exit code 0 means success entry. Okay, that's the reason it is giving a success. Similarly, if you have your own custom error, like we discussed about AutoCAD 256, then it will say that it terminated with exit code 256. I'm trying to see what does 256 means in your exit table. Then it will say, okay, it is a failure, and what is the reason for the failure? That's what you can see here in this particular log file, app.enforce.log file. And since it is success, there is no description for it. You don't see any description. But if it is a failure and you give your own description, you can see that here. Guys, is it clear? Okay, I consider as yes, and in the reports also you can see it. So with this, application deployment is completed, just like your package.
uh, Is there any extra else written code will be there apart from the system what it has a default?
Sorry, I didn't get that, Manju.
Because I maybe have saw somewhere or heard that there will be different written code list will be there. It will be a part of a packaging team. So maybe sometime I heard that there will be written code list. That's why I was asking because I didn't get any much detail to here. So just add it out. I'm
Um, so sorry, but I really didn't understand your question, Manju.
I'll make it somewhat clear. Like actually, I'm trying to ask a written code. Now how you shown that there is a default written codes from the system you shown. From the control panel, there is a going into the configuration manager there from where you shown to us that codes are there.
You're
Apart
talking.
from that, anything else?
See, okay, I'm trying to understand your question. So basically what happens is when the application is success or failure, each application will have its own exit codes depending on the whether it is an MSI or EXE. For example, MSI fails with 1619. Okay, there are so many standard errors, right? So if it fails with any one of those errors, so in the log file you will see the error and whether it is a failure or whatever. So it will say that it has failed and gives you a red entry there. That is what you can see in the app enforce log file. Now, if you know those errors well in advance, what I was telling you is you can give those log error details here in the console, right? When you click the properties and go to the deployment type properties, I showed you like under written codes, you can give a big list here. You can keep on adding the list. If you know all the error codes, what this particular application Adobe Reader might give, if you know those error codes from your application packager, or through your experience, you can add those error codes here and give a proper description to that, so that what will happen tomorrow if the application fails with that particular error code, you can see that in the description, you can see that in the log file. Even if you don't have that here, say suppose you have not put a particular error code here, still it will show there in the app enforce log and still it will throw an error, but you will not know what that particular exact error code is, right? Whoever is troubleshooting, he may or may not know what that 1619 means. If you select that 1619 here and give a description, even a new guy who is troubleshooting it, the moment he sees 1619 and then the description, he'll understand, okay, it failed because of a long path, long file name I have given, whatever it is, or maybe there is a space in the application name, that's the reason it failed. Whatever it is, it will identify why the application failed, and based on that, he will take an appropriate action. I don't know if I've answered your question because I totally did not get the question. So
Yeah, అంటే ఇప్పుడు మీకు మీరు లాక్ ఫైల్స్ ఉంటాయి దానిది సపరేట్ గా లిస్ట్ ఉంది ఇస్తానని చెప్తారు కదా అలాగే రిటర్న్ కోడ్ కి కూడా లిస్ట్ ఉంది సో మీ దగ్గర ఉంటుందేమో అని అడుగుతుంది అయినా ఇది ఇది కూడా ఓకే ఇది కూడా ఓకేనా నాకు ఆన్సర్ ఆల్మోస్ట్ యూజ్
okay, I got it. So you're asking like the quick reference Excel sheet which I promised to give for the log files. You are asking whether there is a Excel sheet wherein you have all these error codes. That's what you are asking, right?
yes, yes.
Okay. Sorry.
We will have an reference. So we will have some reference. Maybe it's somewhere. It will be under this and knowledge purpose.
No, sorry. Now I got the question. See, the thing is like in outside market we have like hundreds and thousands of applications, right? So there's nothing called a standard error codes. The standard error codes will be there for something like MSI. If you're talking about MSI based applications, there are standard error codes. If you're talking about EXE, batch, VBS, no, we don't have any standard error codes, right? So basically what you need to do is either get that from the application packager or through your experience, or if it is MSI, then definitely on the TechNet you have that. Go to technet.microsoft.com and select for Windows installer packages error codes. So you'll have there are so many, a big list of exit codes there. Okay, so that can be picked up from there as well. But by default, I say take it from the application packager or the through your experience. You can keep on adding them here. Is it clear, Manju?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let me close this now. Guys, so today what we have discussed is end-to-end of application creation. Okay, package creation was done, application creation we have looked into. So the things which are left over is about the distribution points. what is a distribution point? We know only one distribution point, but there are other things like pre-stage, pull DP, pull distribution point, and cloud distribution. So what are the different types of distribution points, and at what stage which distribution point you'll use? And a small portion of application catalog is pending. And once this is done, I will talk about report. We will also create a reporting service point, so that all these days I was telling you, you'll have reports. So you'll also have a chance to look into inventory management reports, software distribution reports, and other things that we discussed till now. So these are the things pending. So do you want me to start with something today? Now, right now, I'm okay. Or else, if you want me to start tomorrow morning, I'll start with the DPS tomorrow morning, because it's already 8 o'clock. Hence, I'm asking this question.
Yeah, yeah. Even I too got some more. You can start tomorrow. But till now, whatever you are covering now, so I'm just picking up slowly. You said the baby steps. So I'm putting up baby steps. So I'm just picking up. But I need if you can able to give some example scenarios. I mean, not scenarios, like something activity like to just to do it exercise purpose. Some examples like something you can
Yeah.
give for
So
that. So we can try it. And since we don't have any examples by our own, by just doing seeing the videos we are doing it. So
no, what I would suggest
we are
is,
following.
no, what I totally got your point, Manju. But what I would suggest is, since see, I've picked Adobe Reader, I've picked Google Chrome, right? So similarly, I would ask you to download a couple of applications from internet. Even I've downloaded these from the internet while I was giving the sessions. So similarly, I will ask you to do something like VLC Media Player or 7-Zip, or anything which is not non-licensed and easy to download. Go ahead and download such kind of MSIs, EXEs, or within your company, if you have a VBA script, right? Try to see how it will work with the VB script. Okay, if you have some application with VB script, get it from your office, and start creating a package or application using that VBS in your lab, and see how a VB script will get installed. Okay, and what kind of, and see if you're able to follow the process of all these log files, and see where the application is getting installed, right? Putting a proper detection method, how it is working, putting a wrong detection method, how it is working. So all that you yourself can pick up those exercises rather than me giving and confining those exercises. I would say it is better if you can pick it up from your production environment and start looking at it.
Okay, because since I asked you, because you will be working really in the real production area, and you will have a small problems and the scenarios. So that's okay. I will try it, and anything I gonna I'll let you.
Sure. If you are getting any issue, because say I can tell you to install AutoCAD, but then you should also have prior experience of how AutoCAD works. Not maybe everybody has the experience on that. So that's the reason I'm not picking any application and asking you to do it. Just pick whichever application you're comfortable with, and try how you can distribute it using SCM. Any application for that matter.
Okay.
Okay. So guys, so tomorrow morning we'll catch up, and I'll start with DPs, different DPs, application catalog, and we'll install the reporting services point. Clear? Any other questions till now? Okay, cool. Fine guys. So let's meet tomorrow. Take care. Bye.